Hello and welcome to the channel. We're going to be talking about the top 8 round of the Osaka Japan Championships that happened this past weekend. Usually I do these as a live stream as the events are happening in real time, but during this event, I was in Pasadena competing in the regional championships. So I'm going back, watching these for the first time and giving my commentary to you all. If you want to watch the official VOD for yourself, link is in the description below. And if you miss any of my other commentaries from this championship, I've got a playlist on the channel that has every single round from this top cut in the Osaka championships that you can go ahead and watch. But first, let's get a word from our sponsor because I gotta pay for Christmas presents this month. The holidays have officially hit at Nen Garden, and they're following up their Black Friday with a huge sale continuing. If you go ahead right now and buy any 2 playmats on their website, you can get the Sun God playmat for $9.99, which is basically a steal when we're talking about playmats, right? They've also got a special deal on their pins where if you buy 2 of them, you get a third one for 50% off. So not only do you get these incredible deals, but my affiliate code actually stacks on top of it to save you even more money this holiday season. Spread the holiday cheer by using code Atrocious at checkout for 10% off your order on these already great deals. The link to Nen Garden's website will be in the description below, and thank you so much for supporting one of our great friends here in the community. Happy holidays to you, and let's get back into the video. Now, just to give you an idea of what's in the top 8 cut of this championship, we have 3 Boa Hancocks, right? It was the most populous in the top 16 with 6, and now is whittled down to 3. The next highest amount of decks is Ace, Red Blue Ace with 2 in the top 8 so far. 1 Dracula Mihawk left standing in this tournament, which is the one that we saw in the previous round. Spoiler alert. The single player of Purple Doflamingo still alive in this top 8, and also the one of Green Purple Luffy is alive in this top cut, which I believe is the stream round for this event, so maybe not a surprise to many of you. Boa Hancock, if you do not know, is Hold It On as potentially the best deck in the format, especially after this performance and several other wins so far in the OP14 format. His 2 different effects on it. On opponent's turn, if you play down a character, you get to draw 1 card, right? So a lot of trigger bodies in this deck. And then Dawn times 1 once per turn. If one of your 5,000 power or more Kuja Pirate or Amazon Lily type characters gets KO'd, your opponent has to take a life. So one of the crazy things about Boa is board control, right? It's very hard to play on Boa's board, especially when they get bodies down. Typically, they only play either Kuja Pirate, Amazon Lily kind of cards, or the secret rare Kuma, which is why you may have seen a spike in price of that card in the last couple weeks, right? So really anything that you try to KO on the Boa side is going to either force you to take a life or let your opponent heal 1 life, both of which not very good in my opinion. We're going to see how GP Luffy matches up into the Boa though, because GP Luffy in OP13 did fall off the radar for so many people, basically became a deck that was obsolete in the format, and now in OP14 getting a couple new cards and also some promos as well in the deck. It's going to be interesting to see how this is built and how this can play in this matchup as GP Luffy going first. As both players mulligan, let me speed it up to their starting hands for you all. So we got our starting hand for our GP Luffy. Does have a little bit of searching, especially on a first Dawn turn with that 1-drop Nami. You've also got some 2Ks in that Usohachi and Gum Gum Giant, one of the better counter cards in the game. You've got a nice aggro rush secret rare Luffy, which could be pretty good to try to close out the game, and then a Robin promo, nice protection effect that was given as a promo in the deck. The Boa on this does have a Ran for the 4 Dawn turn, right? Going second in this one is going to be able to get a Dawn on leaders super early. We also got a Rindo, I believe her name is, right? That 5 cost right there. A secret rare Boa, a 6 cost Silver's Rayleigh, which although not Kuja Pirate or Amazon Lily, is something that we've seen a couple times in these Boa decks, right? To be able to KO different characters on the field, and a You'll Frighten Me event. Going to be interesting to see how this goes. So let's get into a GP Luffy starting off our game with 1 Dawn, more than likely going to be playing that Nami to do a quick search. Now, ideally what you're looking for in this is Zoro Juro or Sanji and Pudding. Doesn't find either of them, or actually does find a Zorojuro on this search. I'm sorry, the SP, I didn't see it at first. It's so dark, but Zorojuro going to be nice, even though you can't play it next turn, to be able to play it and find more pieces, especially Sanji and Pudding. Boa Hancock starting on 2 doesn't have anything to do, so it's just going to pass the turn off right now. And especially off of this draw being another Zorojuro for the GP Luffy, could just do something as simple as a 5-5 swing, right? 3 with the Nami Searcher and then 1 with the leader. One of the things that you kind of have to worry about, though, if you go on that aggressive route of 5-5 is what I mentioned earlier with the trigger bodies in Boa, right? A lot of these Boa Hancock characters just have simple, like, if your leader is Kuja Pirates, go ahead, play out a character. If you have a 6,000 power or less character in hand, put out a character. So it's very scary because Boa can populate the board so easily. And so after taking that first life, no trigger because of that, Kuma is going to go ahead and play the Nico Robin, one of the new promos that's added in this Luffy deck that is so good in my personal opinion, with a cost of 4,000 power 1k counter once per turn. If your Straw Hat Crew type character would be removed from the field by your opponent's effect, you may rest one of your Dawn cards instead. Going to be really nice because a lot of Boa Hancocks play something like Gum Gum Red Rock, so it's going to kind of negate that Gum Gum Red Hawk because all the Luffy has to do is just rest one Dawn instead. After playing the Ran and getting a Dawn attached, he's going to counter out with Usohachi moving into their 5 Dawn turn. We'll probably see the Zorojuro come in now to be able to search for Sanji Pudding in the coming turn, right, as you're on the on curve. So going to be curious to see if he swings 5 or 6 to start out. Does not have a Sanji Pudding on this turn specifically. Just starts out with a 5,000 power swing. Tries to get a card out of hand right now. Could go ahead, get rid of this Rindo. The Rindo is just a simple 1k, and maybe you don't need it at this point, right? Especially with Silver's Rayleigh maybe being your option on the next turn. And so Luffy is going to go ahead with that Zorojuro, go in, look at the top 5 for a purple Straw Hat Crew kind of card. Still does not find Sanji Pudding, but does find a couple different options that he could grab in an Usohachi, a 2k, and I believe that's a Gum Gum Giant at the end of the search as well. Probably I would have to think that Sanji is one of the better targets right here, right? Especially because at worst case scenario, you can play him down to be a nice blocker. Can't grab that Nami because you can only grab purple cards and passes off the turn. Leaves one Dawn open just in case, especially now that Boa's at a 6 Dawn turn, for a Gum Gum Red Rock like I was mentioning, right? Robin can just rest that one Dawn right there. You got to think, especially with the Silver's Rayleigh in hand, that Boa may take this game a little bit slower than a lot of situations, right? Silver's Rayleigh, if your opponent is at 3 or less life, you'll be able to KO a 7,000 power base character or less. Could be perfect to get rid of this Zorojuro. So on these couple swings from the Ran and also the Boa, if they can get the GP Luffy to take a life here, then Silver's Rayleigh is going to be able to activate and KO this Zorojuro. He is going to take this first life to put into the hand, is going to be that blocker Nami that I was mentioning. So now this is the perfect time for Kuma, actually. I thought he was going to play Rayleigh for a second there, but going in with the Kuma instead to heal one blind life, right? A lot of times we see players combo the 4-cost Boa blocker from the Doflamingo starter deck and the Kuma to know exactly what gets healed, but just kind of values this body a little bit more, right? Doesn't necessarily care about this Zorojuro swinging in at the life. And then GP Luffy top decks another 1-cost Nami. Something that you could do, right, because you do want to play Sanji Pudding at this point in the game, is you could go ahead and Nami first to start out looking at that top 5. You know, you get to dig 5 cards. You haven't seen one yet. Might be one that you find out at this point. And then worst case scenario, you can go in with something like Zorojuro to just continuously look in at the top 5 even after that. Starting out with a swing on the 6,000 power is going to go ahead and take a life, a potential trigger. We'll see. It looks like a 1-cost. It looks like the You'll Frighten Me event. The You'll Frighten Me event on that trigger is putting a character with 6,000 power or less and a trigger from your hand onto the field. Another way to just swarm bodies. And we're actually going to use it putting out another Ran. That Ran is going to be nice not only because you get your leader effect, right, of drawing one card because you played a card on your opponent's turn, but now it's another body to be able to swing with, and you can add more Dawn onto your leader to be able to get even bigger swings right at this Luffy. Gonna start off with that Nami. Still does not find a Sanji Pudding. Ends up finding a 5-cost Sanji instead. Definitely unlucky not to be able to see a Sanji Pudding at this point. And one of the things that I didn't think about until right now, and probably could have said this earlier, is that especially with that Robin right there, right, that 3 cost that we saw earlier, if you leave one Dawn open, it's kind of a counter to Silver's Rayleigh, even if you take 1 life, because you've got that protection effect on there. So is going to go with the Sanji, is going to try to populate the board as well, I would think, on this play. Maybe playing it down, restanding a couple Dawn through the Sanji on play effect, as you're seeing right now. Is going to have 3 Dawn up as active. Again, you only need to rest 1 card. 1 Dawn card specifically for that Robin, and using leader effect to put just straight up 2 Dawn back is going to make your Luffy a 6,000 power leader, 5 Dawn left as active. May go ahead and just rest for a Zoro Juro after this swing. That's something that we can actually see, right? Especially because you can have 1 Dawn active for any removal effects, and Sanji as well will restand a Dawn on top of that. The life on there is unlucky for our GP Luffy player. Going to be a Gorgon Sisters. The Gorgon Sisters is so good in my personal opinion. One of the best cards in this deck, and if you can get it out on the field, it's going to be so good. And one of the things about the Boa leader as well, right, that's 2 trigger bodies that have happened. Boa's leader effect of drawing a card when you play a character on your opponent's turn is not a once per turn effect, right? Can happen as many times in a turn as it happens. So that's why he drew that extra card right there. Is going to go ahead and play that Zoro Juro to grab another 2K Sanji. So just unfortunately stacking a ton of counter in this hand is just going to go ahead, pass off the turn to the Boa. Leaving 1 Dawn as active, right, for in case a removal card, especially now because you're not finding Sanji and Pudding. That makes this Zoro Juro and Sanji all that more important, right? Because you're not reutilizing much of this Dawn because of your leader effect, right? You're not re-ramping it back onto the field. The Boa now sitting in a pretty good position, having so many bodies now, swingable bodies, and Dawn reutilization is going to play Sengoku first. Sengoku is something that we see in several of these Boa Hancock lists because it can help you find a 7 Warlords of the Sea type card like Kuma, like all of your Boa Hancocks, which include the 9-drop boss monster that we see in the hand, could be the 4-drop blocker as well. And even, I believe it finds the Gorgon Sisters, right? The Gorgon Sisters having a 7 Warlords of the Sea typing on the card. And so ends up finding that Kuma may just kind of take the long con style of the game with a decent amount of counter in hand and counter events. Could go in with a Kuma right now, pitch a brick that you don't need like Marguerite, and just go ahead, heal 1 life. But is going to go first with another Sengoku just to do a little bit more searching. Ends up finding a 9-cost Boa in the hand and a Gorgon Sister. So 2 2K options that you can grab. Already has a Perfume Femur in hand. And one of the cards that we see in this search that made a little bit of noise in this tournament is Sables, right? Sables is a searchable card in this deck. It is a 4-cost event with a main of returning a 7-cost or less to the owner's hand. Is such a good removal card, right? Especially when you have Sengokus to be able to search out that card back from all the way in the starter deck 03, right from the very beginning of the game when it first released. This Kuma is going to be played and heal a life. Interestingly enough, put away the Perfume Femur, right? The GP Luffy not really having many blockers outside of the 4-cost Nami, so maybe something you don't need to grab in a sense. Ends up revealing the 3 Amazon Lily Kuja Pirate cards to be able to use the Gorgon Sisters effect and reutilize so much Dawn. 6 Dawn in total, right, between the characters and leaders. One of the reasons why this deck is so strong. Now your cards like Ran, right, and the Gorgon Sisters are going to be able to swing in at the Luffy, right, as Luffy is a 6,000 power leader. And so Luffy definitely on the back foot right now is going to go ahead and get rid of the blocker Nami. Nice 1k, right? Again, because of the perfume femurs that you may see in this deck, blockers maybe not being as instrumental as usual. I think now swinging 6,000 power at the Zoro Juro is just going to try to deplete this GP Luffy's hand entirely, especially with potentially a Gum Gum Giant with this 1 Dawn. When you don't have something like Sanji Pudding, right, if you decide to Gum Gum Giant, you would go down to 3 Dawn, right, heading into 5 Dawn on your next turn, which, especially when Boa is already at 8, I believe, on this turn, it feels really, really bad as the Luffy only 3 cards in hand. So is going to go ahead with the 2k Sanji potentially to be able to save this Zoro Juro. You've got a couple cards swinging in at the Zoro Juro anyways for the rest of the turn. So just decides to let it be, now swinging 8,000 power at lead. Ends up taking that life, now using both Ran effects to get Boa to swing 8,000 power. Goes ahead and uses Dead Man's Game to go to 9,000 power. Thankfully, we got that off of the life, so then it's only a 1-card inclusion. But GP Luffy looking really bad right now. Might have an end to the run, especially as the top deck still no Sanji and Pudding right now. You're on 7 Dawn, so you've got a little bit of Dawn to work with and a couple swings. Honestly, maybe at this point, what you're trying to think about right now is maybe they just don't have any counter in the hand, right? Maybe especially getting rid of some of these perfume femurs, their hand is a little bit bricked up. So just going to swing a 6,000 power at lead with Zoro Juro. Because I still have 2 life, can't really go at the board, right? Because I don't want to take any life. And so Boa now is going to go ahead, put it in the hand. Is a 2k Hiyori, so a nice 2k to be able to grab. Now a 7,000 power swing with the Sanji right now. Could get out of it if they want to with the Silver's Rayleigh Hiyori combo, but especially with no Dawn active, that's all that they have going for them right now. So we may see another life get taken here from the Boa. Is going to go into the hand. It is a Sengoku, which is a nice 1k. And now the Luffy is going to go ahead with the 6-drop. Luffy, I think, is going to go for an all-in kind of play right now. And so is going to use leader effect to put 2 Dawn back and restand 2 Dawn, right? Has 3 Dawn right now as Luffy is a 6,000 power leader. May just try to go in and swing 777 now at this Boa to try to go in for game. You need to hit 2 more times to be able to win. And if you attach 1 Dawn, swing 7 with lead and then go in with Luffy and use Luffy, the Secret Rare Luffy, I should say's effect, right, on the when attacking to put 2 active Dawn back. You can get 3 7s in to try to close this out. So goes in with the 7,000 power swing with leader, like I mentioned, right, attaching 1 of the Dawn to the leader. The Boa can get out of it, but has to think about, if the Luffy does actually risk on this double attack, that means that there is going to be no Dawn left open and decides to go ahead and take it. It's going to be a Marguerite. Marguerite, a huge trigger right now for this Boa, is going to be able not only to draw 1 because of the leader effect, but now utilize that on-play effect of looking at the top 5 for an Amazon Lily or Gorgon Sisters, finds a 2k in the Gorgon Sisters, and is going to be able to pitch one of these random bulk cards that don't have counter, be a 9-cost Boa in the hand, and now might have enough counter now to get out of these 7-7 swings. So goes in with the first one on the Luffy, restands because of its effect, goes 2k, 1k out of that, and now another swing of 7,000 power is going to be another 2k, 1k. The Marguerite being the perfect trigger, right, to find that Gorgon Sisters, and is more than likely with only 3 cards in hand and 1 life with so many swings at him, Boa is going to move into our top 4 round. Again, one of the reasons that I think Boa is potentially one of the strongest decks within this format, right? Especially with 2 different heals of the Kuma, that was essentially a 6 life leader that you had to go through. And I think 4 trigger bodies, right? A Gorgon Sisters, a You'll Frighten Me, playing out a Rand, another Rand, and a Marguerite at the end of the game. There's so many trigger bodies that's going to flood the board of the field. Is just so good for the Hiyori. So now is just going to play this Hiyori to be able to reutilize the Gorgon Sisters and their Rested Dawn after that first swing. Is going to attach everywhere onto the field. Again, still can attach one more with the Rand, although probably won't at this point because you don't have any more Rested Dawn. The swings coming in right now. No Dawn attached. Finally finds a Sanji and putting off of the life, unfortunately. And Boa is going to be our competitor heading into the top 4 round, right? Interesting deck list with the Sable's inclusion, a trend that we saw after this weekend, right? That was very popular not only in this championships, but other championships happening around the globe, like in Hong Kong. Speaking of Hong Kong as well, here on the channel, we are going to have plenty of commentary over 2 different Hong Kong championships that happened in the OP14 format. So if you want to go check that out, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. I was going to say check the link in the description down below, but those videos aren't out yet. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a beat. And if you want to watch this tournament without my commentary, maybe you want to skip ahead to the top 4. If you're watching this live as this video releases, I will have the official VOD in the description. As always, when I do these commentary videos, I always give you the source of these videos, especially when I don't host them myself on the channel. But if you want to stick around, the other rounds will be available on Monday, right? Because I was at the Peoria Championships this past weekend, couldn't do it live. So appreciate all your patience and support on that, even though this video is technically late, I will say. And ooh, yeah, Egghead Crisis stuff. We're going to be going over some of these cards from EB04 because a lot of them were revealed as well on the channel here soon. So again, make sure to go check that out on the channel when those come out. That'll be coming out early this week. With a lot of the different reveals. There's some really cool stuff in deck lists and stuff that I'm really excited about that were revealed at the European Bandai Card Fest. But anyways, I'll stop yapping, go off to watch the next video of whatever you're doing on YouTube, and I hope to see you again soon.